Hello and welcome back to our channel. Today we have an interesting issue that has raised the worldwide community's interest. Prepare to be surprised as we delve into the surprising turn of events surrounding the Chinese mega project that shocked the US engineers. China is investing trillions of dollars to build massive projects all around the world. Let's embark on this interesting journey together. As we uncover the amazing story of how, where, and when China built these mega projects, we will discover the fascinating considerations that inspired these major projects as we dig into the fascinating world of the makers. What shocked the US engineers? Join us as we examine and know if there is more to the story than joining us on this journey. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and stay tuned to discover the reality behind this. Despite increasing anxiety in the United States about India's and China's developing technology capabilities, the US has little accurate information regarding these countries' prospective engineering workforces. Political leaders in the United States propose solutions such as improving engineering graduation rates in the United States to meet the self-proclaimed rates of developing rivals. Many politicians ascribe the rising tide of outsourcing by US firms to a lack of educated people and flaws in the country's education systems without properly comprehending why companies outsource. Many individuals within and outside government do not appear to be looking forward and realizing that research and design may be outsourced next, and that the United States may lose its ability to invent the next great innovations. These figures have been referenced by the national academies and the US Department of Education. Such comments frequently infer that the United States is in jeopardy because China and India graduate 12 times more engineers than the United States. The word engineer does not translate well into different dialects in China and has no uniform definition. We were told that reports applied to the MOE by Chinese provinces did not consistently count degrees. A motor mechanic or a technician, for example, may be called an engineer. Furthermore, the figures covered all degrees connected to computer technology as well as specialist industries such as shipbuilding. It appears that any bachelor's degree with the word engineering in its title was included in the ministry statistics, regardless of the degree's field or accompanying academic difficulty. China is really blessed, world-growing economy. This sounds fantastic. If the Great Wall of China is a symbol of ancient China's magnificence, the Qinghai-Tibet Railway may be a symbol of modern China. The Forbidden Land is famed for its bravery, perseverance, and determination. This is the highest mountain plateau on the planet, and until recently, the path to the Tibetan temples was long and difficult. In just 5 years and $3.5 billion, China built a 1,150-kilometer highway connecting the so-called top of the globe to the country's major region. In the early 1920s, the revolutionary Sun Yat-sen pushed for the construction of 100,000 kilometers of new railway lines throughout China, including lines on the Tibetan Plateau in his program plan for China's reconstruction. For realistic reasons, the concept of the father of the country could only be revived under Chairman Mao in 1950. The railway project to establish Tibet's capital was approved in 1960. However, because development was halted for over a decade and a half, China only began to reap the advantages of the Great Leap Ahead in 1974 with the completion of the first segment of the future highway from the capital of Qinghai province. The city of Shining to go mid already on the Tibetan Plateau was resumed 814 kilometers of railway, which were built by the army and prisoners in 5 years by 1979, but passenger traffic was only open here in 1984. Work on the second high-altitude section to Lhasa was associated with engineering challenges of particular complexity. The builders toiled under conditions of permafrost, a lack of oxygen, and the unique Tibetan environment, the preservation of which was only recently designated a subject of vital significance by the Chinese party and government. The country developed the technological capabilities to start on a large-scale infrastructure project. The construction of the railway to Lhasa has become a vital step in Western China's development agenda, with the objective of closing the development gap between the country's eastern and western regions. Another key and maybe the most important purpose of the People's Republic of China administration was to rebuild linkages of Tibetan autonomy, which had just been reconnected with the main Chinese region in 1950. According to the proposal authorized in 2000 and my Chinese President John inspected, the entire length of the new railway was to be 1,142 kilometers. 45 stations were arranged on this stretch, 38 of which were automatic without service people. The genuine path from Gomert rose from 2,800 meters above sea level to the Tang will cross 5,072 meters and then plummeted to Lhasa 3,642 meters, accounting for about 80% of the entire new segment. 960 kilometers run through challenging high mountainous terrain at a height of above 4,000 meters above sea level, of which around 550 kilometers are visible. The railroad building was complicated by permafrost. The upper layer of permafrost tends to collapse in a short summer period, often forming an impenetrable swamp. In the sense, soil movement constituted a genuine concern, potentially leading to track deformation and destruction. To avoid this risk, the designers of the Keqiang road employed a unique construction strategy that effectively separates any impact of the roadway and the environment and vice versa. The rails were installed in a unique cobblestone embankment that was filled with sand in the transfer projection. The embankment was punctured with a network of pipes to enable greater ventilation, and its slopes were coated with unique metal sheets that reflected sunlight and therefore prevented sheeting, and was filled with liquid nitrogen in some sections. All of these procedures effectively froze the embankment beneath the road, preventing heating of the upper layer of permafrost, its thawing and subsequent before making one of the railway track to compensate for elevation variations. In the building sections, a substantial portion of the highway was placed along streams. In all, 675 bridges were erected on its 1,142 kilometers with a total length of 160 kilometers. These overpasses' counterparts are basically piles whose foundations lie deep in permafrost, such that yearly thinning of the upper layer has no influence on the structural integrity of the structure. The space between the support columns enable free circulation of air beneath them, reducing the extra temperature effect from the railway. In addition to the technical component, a major advantage of the overpass parts is that they do not obstruct the free movement of often unique representatives of the local wildlife under the roadway. Thus, the negative impact of foreign inclusion to Tibet ecosystem is reduced to a bare minimum. Sections of the Qinghai-Tibet Road, laid on an embankment on the Earth's surface, are fenced along their entire length, and special tunnels and bridges are built on a regular basis to allow migratory animals to pass. The Qinghai-Tibet Railway construction records at once when it was finished 350 kilometers from Goldman and an altitude of 4,900 meters above sea level. The tallest mountain railway tunnel in the world was completed, and the Tangela station atop the same-named mountain pass has become the world's highest railway station. The mountains around it appear to be hills. However, this is a false image. In fact, the three-track Tangela is located at a height of 5,068 meters, only 4 meters lower than the highest point of the whole highway. Although the train stops here, there is only a sign on a single track. The station is totally automated and is controlled from Xining, where the central control of the entire row is located. There are no settlements nearby, but that didn't stop the Chinese from constructing a fairly large station here, where the doors of the carriages do not even open in most cases for an unprepared person to be at such an altitude, where the atmospheric pressure is only about 35 to 45% of the standard at sea level, poses a certain threat to health. A customized rolling stock for the Qinghai-Tibet Road was constructed to make riding through the highlands more enjoyable for passengers. The American business General Electric constructed NJ-to-diesel locomotives for the line adapted for operation in high-altitude circumstances, each locomotive capable of speeds up to 120 kilometers per hour with a train of 15 cars. Their speed in permafrost zones is restricted to 100 kilometers per hour, and the carts for road maintenance were produced in a Canadian-Chinese facility. Concerned bombers in the number of 361 pieces, 300 and 853 unique tourist automobiles, all of which are hermetically sealed from the outside world and maintain a high level of oxygen pressure inside. Despite this, the attacks have changed to sickness caused by lack of oxygen among passengers. To prevent this, each seat in the carriages is equipped with individual oxygen tubes similar to hospitals' tinted windows of the carriages, with a special coating to protect passengers from excessive solar radiation, which is typically of the highlands. The main line has a capacity of 8 pairs of passenger trains per day, not including freight trains, and is presently connected not only with the surrounding regional hub Xining, but also within the country's 2 major cities, Beijing and Shanghai. The Beijing Lhasa Express is on the way for 44 hours. Ticket prices range from $125 to $200, depending on class. Construction of the Qinghai-Tibet Railway began in 2000, and won about 20,000 workers who began laying the highway from both endpoints gone within Lhasa completed. The party's difficult goal in only 5 years, spending $3.68 billion. According to official numbers, no one perished in the process, despite the fact that they worked for a long period in less than ideal circumstances for 7 years. The route handled more than 63 million passengers and 300 million tons for free. The yearly passenger turnover increased from 6.5 million people in 2006, when the main line was inaugurated, to 11 million people in 2012. The yearly freight turnover increased from 25 million tons in 2006 to 56 million tons in 2012. It is clearly obvious that the new railway has considerably improved the economic growth of Tibet and the nearby province of Shanghai. Cargo delivery to Tibet, particularly energy resources, which are especially vital in hilly areas, has become much cheaper. The tourist sector has also gained a fresh push to development, while it's still difficult for anybody who wishes to enter Tibet to do so, for example by using the Beijing-Lhasa Railway. Skeptics believe that the Qinghai-Tibet Railway is just another stage of China's gradual colonization of the peculiar autonomous region and a locomotive of its natural resource development. Geologists have already uncovered reserves of copper, lead, zakin, and raw minerals in the Tibetan mountains, which are desperately required by China's fast expanding industry. Environmentalists, of course, are concerned that the existence of a modern train in the region would only push the Chinese government to develop these fields as rapidly as possible, with unforeseeable effects for the region's fragile environment. However, so far, these are unsubstantiated fears. On the other hand, it's difficult to deny the popularity of the road among Tibetans, who now have the opportunity to easily and quickly reach the country's highly developed eastern regions, and especially among tourists, for whom the highway is a wonderful attraction created by typical Chinese tenacity, literally turning mountains. The voyage along the Qinghai-Tibet Railway is unforgettable. It appears that designers and builders of approach have reached a point beyond which an entirely distinct reality of railway building exists. China will not continue to wow everyone with mega projects worth billions of dollars. China is leading the way. Thank you for joining us on this fascinating trip as we've successfully looked at China 2023 mega projects. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more fascinating insights into the world of mega China projects.